Philadelphia. Woo! First of all, everybody realize what we are watching right now? A 6-2 football team coming off of a Super Bowl win, and they're looking sharper and sharper as the season goes along, where all of the silly statements that you and I said a couple of weeks ago after that Giants loss, one, still look ridiculous. Acknowledge that on Friday as well. And two, this has never happened before in Philadelphia Eagles history. We're not only chasing a second Super Bowl, but this week, everyone finally got to the smelling salts and decided to be on our side again with Jalen Hurts, because he is right back in the MVP conversation after that Giants game. Should absolutely be. And now we can remove Baker Mayfield and Dak Prescott and the rest of the fools that wanted to champion those guys. And I am speaking to those guys. You guys can sit the fuck down, whoever you are. The Achos, I don't even know. All of you can come back in 10 weeks and realize how good Jalen Hurts is. With A.J. Brown, without A.J. Brown, in RPO, under center, in shotgun, you name it, Jalen Hurts can do it. I'm not even going to say, I was just about to say, if they haven't woken up by now, I can't help them. I'm going to keep helping them. What am I talking about? I'm going to keep reminding everybody that Jalen Hurts is probably the most criticized quarterback for the level of quarterback that he is. And it is not to fit your best friend into the top 5 conversation. I'm just talking about outright delusional, cannot see progress with Jalen Hurts, and ultimately, when the offense has some hiccups, goes through some really wild times, the national media decides to point at Jalen Hurts before looking at any of this. And they want him to be left for dead when A.J. Brown is not there. And I'm not going to get into a big drama-filled, this is why the Eagles offense ran better. That's not where I'm going. I'm just preempting that. I do think some things are interesting when A.J. Brown is down on the field, which I'm definitely going to keep pointing out. But Jalen Hurts has shown everything that you could possibly show. I am running out of words to describe why you need to respect Jalen Hurts more. I just don't fucking care anymore. I don't. I do not, because these people come back around every 2 weeks and they're going to put bullets in him if he has a bad game next. And I think it's okay for you and me to outright criticize Jalen when we know he can play better. And he wasn't playing well. He was not. But those guys want to leave him for dead. Those guys want him to continuously play bad, keep saying super team, then not super team. What a great game from Jalen fucking Hurts. From the legs to the arm to his reads to being decisive to getting Dallas Goedert in the end zone on National Tight End Day. Fuck yes, Jalen Hurts. Thank you very much for being a top 5 quarterback, for throwing 8 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Thank you for having probably 2 almost perfect passer ratings back-to-back. Super efficient, and they ran for fucking 200 and some odd 77 yards? Is that what it ended up with? I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I'm ill-prepared with my iced coffee this morning. But fucking A, the run game is there. And the reason why I believe it was lost is simply health. If you hear people trying to pick apart and stir up the offense runs better when A.J. Brown isn't here, I warned you on Saturday. I'll leave the tweet here just for proof, but the takes are going to be wild because we got 2 weeks and we got Diana Rossini giving WIP and a whole bunch of others armor to talk about A.J. Brown. They won't be able to help themselves. And that's okay. It is okay, because the other weirdos about this game are going to say that there's no issues with A.J. Brown. There's nothing to see here. I hate that crowd too. If you're in those extremes, I'm in the middle of both of you. But the reason why the run game went off yesterday is because you were allowed to do jumbo packages against a really bad Giants run defense. And that should have happened on a Thursday night in the Meadowlands, but Landon Dickerson wasn't quite as healthy. You still had to give A.J. Brown snaps, even though he's injured, even though he probably should have sat out that game too. But really the main reason, and shout out to Mutt in the Discord for always having great points, because I agree with him, especially after the rewatch on this one. Toth is a terrible shotgun snapper, along with the Eagles being pretty much super predictable every time that they run out of shotgun at this point. You know, everybody's seen the magic. There's only 2 or 3 different ways that Saquon Barkley can go, and one way or the other with Jalen Hurts. So to be able to disguise all of that between a massive 12 personnel jumbo line featuring Fred Johnson was the absolute way to go. And Howie Roseman's greatest trade of all time, Tank Bigsby, putting up 104. Unbelievable running from him. I should have gone on longer, but last week I just said, I know this is a really silly thing to gripe about, but Tank Bigsby rips one off for 11 yards and he doesn't go back to him once. And I think we're starting to see why Tank is not a returner. Will Shipley and Tank Bigsby were in the wrong place, clearly. Will Shipley on kick returns all the time, RB3. Yes, Tank Bigsby, RB2. And A.J. Dillon, thank you for your service. We love you very much. I'm okay if you go on the trade deadline at this point, because unless you are that risk averse where you absolutely need an A.J. Dillon to be here, I think he would be available to re-sign on the practice squad, and I don't think anybody's going to jump at him on waivers. But just me, just one man's take. Tank Bigsby, hats off to you after all of the incredible shit I know I've given you. So if I'm giving you shit, there's plenty of other Eagles fans saying you were worthless and why did we trade for you? And now we know why. Now we know why. In a nutshell, this team functions way better. You're never going to believe this under center with play action passes. And it is like they want to avoid that somehow, some way, when Cam Jurgens is out there, when you have Cam Jurgens at 60% and Len Dickerson at like 40%, I think that's a big part of it. Because you'll notice every time that they went into a shotgun set and it was a pass, everybody really struggled. Toe struggled, the middle struggled. I just don't think they have that part figured out, nor have they ever had that part figured out in their passing game. Kind of same with the running game and what I was talking about earlier. There's only so many things that you can do with Saquon Barkley to your left or your right and 3 wide receivers or 2 wide receivers in Dallas Goedert out on routes, and you're just going, all right, well, this can only be one thing or the other. And that, I believe, is where you sense that frustration from A.J. Brown. And I'm not going to get too much into the drama here, but like seriously, guys, it's palpable as hell that this relationship between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown is just not going to work out. Their friendship ended because of business, and we are just waiting for that other shoe to drop, and a lot of this national media believes it's going to happen. Some here locally still think there's a possibility it could happen with this trade deadline, and the common response to that has always been dead cap, dead cap. They're not going to do it, dead cap. I'm just going to sit here and say what I think. This is never going to be the best version of the Philadelphia Eagles with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts together. And the reason for that, already been on the record with this, but just as a reminder, the best thing that happened to the Philadelphia Eagles, Saquon Barkley. The worst thing to happen to A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley. Because this is built to be a running team with him on it and any version of the Eagles offensive line. Any version of it. So I think it's coming to the realization, and I'm not saying that this is the reason or the issue why Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown aren't on the same page friendship-wise and maybe even offensively as we get all this goddamn too many chefs in the kitchen talk out of everyone's mouth, deducting and reducing all of these things of there's clearly been something wrong. Saquon Barkley is better for this team than A.J. Brown, and it doesn't mean that I want A.J. Brown gone. I don't think that it means that A.J. Brown is less valuable of a wide receiver here. I don't think he's declining. None of that. A.J. Brown is the best or one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I don't believe that the output of the Philadelphia Eagles offense is good enough to get everyone distributed and everyone happy. Okay? It's just too obvious at this point. And I can feel that tension just like you can, coming out of every game. Sidelines, in-game, body language, and what happens when he's not there? Dallas Goedert gets more touchdowns, a moss ball to Jahan Dotson against a practice squad corner, which you should have been doing all the time, and logically, you don't need A.J. Brown for this game. You just don't. And there is no way to go to tell A.J. Brown, we don't need you for this one. You're a healthy scratch. We're just going to run the ball for 277 yards and call it a day. And that is pretty much probably what happened this week. Of just like, hey, you're frustrated. Your hamstring's blown. You're starting to delete tweets that were positive about Jalen Hurts. You might as well just be ringing the cowbell and saying, I got a problem with this asshole right here. And we know that. And there is nothing anybody can do about it other than try to quiet it down or just have the other guys eat it, which when you're weighing all of these options heading into next season, because this is mostly a next season conversation, unless you and I are about to be completely surprised by all the weird noise and smoke about this particular trade deadline, which, hey, you and I both believe that too, that Howie Roseman was missing something this offseason and went light for a reason. I just think this is all a part of this, whether it happens at the trade deadline or next year. But the chemistry just is not there, and it's not matching the talent. It's not. And in this small offensive drought, I even started to question, well, do we really want to find out if Jalen Hurts is a top 5 guy without A.J. Brown? And over the last 2 weeks, there is no question that you and I should be so comfortable with that, that the coaches should be so comfortable with that. And you know what? Yesterday, everyone looked comfortable. There was really shitty plays in there, like Jalen Hurts taking that bad sack in 2nd and 31, horrendously bad play. Tank Bigsby makes up for it right away. It is more about the Giants being terrible than anything I'm saying right now. Anything. However, just from a body language standpoint, and maybe it's those shiny Kelly Greens, or the fact that Kevin Burkhardt now is 21-7 when he's calling an Eagles game. That's the Eagles record. Isn't that impressive? And Brian Dable probably turning in his key card. There are so many reasons why the Eagles looked good this week. So many. And I'm not telling you that A.J. Brown is the reason why. But if you don't acknowledge that it's a big part of the reason of why there's no flow to the offense, you're kidding yourself. You're kidding yourself. Fred Johnson was out there 12 times. 12. And when Fred Johnson is out there 12 times, that means somebody is not going to be out there catching footballs. It sucks, man. I don't want to face this either. I don't. I want to be so fucking wrong about this. But this team is much better than just any one player that presents itself. Even if you lost Saquon Barkley, this team still doesn't suck. If you lose A.J. Brown, this team doesn't suck. If you lose Devontae Smith, this team doesn't suck. If you lose Jalen Hurts, this team is gonna suck. It's gonna suck. It's not gonna suck too bad because Tanner McKee's the fucking man, but it's gonna suck. You know, and the more that we realize that, and that was not true in 2022. I agree with you. That was not true in 2022, nor 2023, and I don't even think it was true last year. I don't. But now, just like we said, when I'm talking about Shaq, and when I'm looking at Jalen Hurts and talking about Kobe grew up too. At some point, him and Shaq, okay, fuck you, you don't need me. You don't need me to win championships. Go prove it. Fuck you. And I take Jalen Hurts' comments of we're never losing again after last week's win combined with this week, his mentality is in a completely different spot than it was 4 weeks ago. So I now believe it's only fair, after so much criticism of one Kevin Patullo, that I give him his name back. I take away the potatoes, sir. Excellent called game in context of what we have seen thus far, and as a new play caller, near perfect in my mind. A lot of it was just execution. A lot of it was just execution problems. A couple of bad passing calls in there, but it's Nick Sirianni's offense, baby. It's gonna happen. Gonna happen. So the potato is removed. The drama is there, but we really don't care because we know it's over. And we are witnessing fucking history, and we need to appreciate that a little more if you're not. I am doing that today. I can recognize that all that stuff is there, and I can tell you that in the context of Super Bowl teams trying to go back to win another one, a lot of this stuff starts to normalize itself. Of course these egos are going to get in the way. Of course. I bite the cheese way too much when it sounds too loud. I mean, it gets loud in there. Scary and fucking loud when people are ripping each other apart. But when your number one wide receiver and your quarterback are basically doing T.O. McNabb, except they're doing a much better job of bottling it up, hats off to everybody, including Nick Sirianni. 6-2 at the bye week, an easier part of the schedule coming up next. You're getting Landon Dickerson back almost to 100%. Hopefully they can do that to Cam as well. But either way, if it's Toth, if it's anyone else, Stoutland, you looked pretty good yesterday. The run game looked pretty good yesterday. The refs look fucking terrible. Both sides of it, around the league. Terrible day for the refs. Great day to be an Eagles fan. And I've got a great story about Scranton, Highway 380, and a bunch of chaos that happened to me on Sunday. So we'll get into all that. I appreciate you tuning in, subscribing, and, of course, go say hi to our friends, Two Moods, who I drank about 4 of those on game day. 2 8s, 2 4s, some thrills, some chills, and we'll be back. Go Birds.